What is happening? What are you doing? Oh! Kill it! Kill it! Kill it! And that's what a lot of people are saying about indie horror. Many people are saying it's unoriginal and uninspired, and a lot of it's just for financial gain. And that's probably why you clicked on this video, because the thumbnail says indie horror is a dying genre. However, we're going to dive into indie horror and its history and find out whether or not this is true or not. FNAF, the big mama that birthed indie horror. The one that really got franchises started in an indie horror genre. Not just having one game that was played with minor updates to have YouTubers play every now and again, but a game with small bits of lore, a very interesting game mechanic. When FNAF's game mechanic first came out, it was very revolutionary in a lot of games. Nobody's ever seen this before, and it really changed how a lot of games were made. Having an interesting mechanic that keeps people engaged into the game, and having to learn new skills with that mechanic, being faster and more efficient with said mechanic. FNAF started off as a passion project for Scott. He just really wanted to see if he could make a game that was successful, and FNAF absolutely blew up. Eventually, he released a second, third, and even fourth game. However, the fourth game was supposed to be the last, but many people didn't want the series to end, so Scott decided to continue the series, and that's why we are where we are today in the FNAF franchise. Now, partly the reason FNAF was able to stay alive for so long is so many people were inspired by Scott, they decided to make a lot more fan games, where you have Five Nights at Candy's, Five Nights at Dumpty's, Five Nights at Steve's. They basically just replaced the FNAF mainstay, Fred the Fredbear, and made other games. To me, this shows that a lot of people could see the passion Scott had, and they were inspired by his passion. While you look at Poppy Playtime, or even Garden of Banban, you don't see inspired games of them. You see recreations trying to feed off of that game and trying to make money. Poppy Playtime. I mean, guys, you already know my stance on this game. I absolutely hate it. I'm never going to ever make any videos on it. I never have and never will, obviously. Okay, I'm joking. I'm being sarcastic. I have made so many videos over Poppy Playtime. It is not even funny. Now, personally, I do think the games are very well made. I don't think they're, like, absolutely terrible. Now, I do think that Mob Games is a little shady in the background, and there's definitely a lot of things that they have in their past, which are pretty bad things, especially bullying people. I mean, that is pretty terrible in my opinion. Just bullying someone on YouTube. I mean, oh, I got 1,000,000 subscribers. You're a loser. You have 1,000. At the end of the day, we're all in the same boat. Even a 1,000,000 subscriber channel will eventually die. A life expectancy of 10 years. So you can't really say a lot unless you are targeting children, but even then, sometimes that doesn't even work for the massive channels. Another thing that also shoots up definite red flags about Mob Games is that they literally sold the rights to their game to Studio 71 for a movie. And if you guys want updates on movie news like that, go subscribe to IC Films, which has just launched with stop motion, skits, and many other tutorials. I think you guys are really going to like the channel, so please go check it out right now. Back to the video. However, even though Mob Games has been very shady in the past, they have made some very good games in my opinion. Chapter 1 and 2 were pretty good. I mean, Chapter 2 was very repetitive, but I do think it had a lot of stuff there, and it was pretty good for what it had. They're hyping up the Chapter 3, so I'm gonna wait and see what it is, and if it is bad, then I guess we know what it is. Something I would like to touch on, though, is, like I said previously, Poppy Playtime still never had any fan games really made for it. There's never like, I played a fan game for Poppy Playtime. You don't see that. Baldi's Basics had it, FNAF had it, and that's how you get success being an indie horror game. Especially as a small game, you kind of need that. But Poppy Playtime did not have it. The reason Poppy Playtime was successful is because it targeted kids. It found squishy, small monsters that look kind of attractive to kids. Attractive as in appealing, not sexual. By becoming attractive to kids online, they were able to spread rapidly throughout the internet via YouTube. YouTubers promoting the game and basically being an algorithmic game, which is what a lot of games are trying to do now, is be an algorithm game rather than a good game. However, Poppy Playtime did get one recreation, and yes, it is Garden of Banban. Basically, completely copying Poppy Playtime with the idea of a haunted kids something, and then making that more appealing for kids, even though it makes absolutely no sense because there's a giant freaking pit and it says it's a ball pit. That doesn't make any sense. I don't go to a kindergarten and see that. At least Poppy Playtime's more realistic with the toy factory. Now, I don't want to make a whole video on Garten of Banban once again, or an entire rant, because I already did that in a 6-minute and 58-second video. So, I think me doing that again would be stupid. However, I will say that Garten of Banban is just bad. Like, we all know it is. However, I would like to defend YouTubers playing this and then getting called out by others, because they wouldn't know that this game's going to blow up. They would just try to make another video about another horror game. Maybe not an up-and-coming horror game, but just a fun, stupid horror game. That's what a lot of YouTubers think of. But now, a lot of games are trying to find this formula to get popular on YouTube with a very popular chase scene like Garten of Banban or Poppy Playtime. So, this is the new mascot horror genre we're in, correct? Well, I actually think not. Because mascot horror has only been around for so long. Not as long as the internet, in my opinion. Really, it started with FNAF, like, when it got big, and it's still developing. It's still finding what works and what doesn't work, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. Currently, it's around 12 to 13 years old, and that's around your teenage years. We all know how our teenage years are, so I would not put anything against mascot horror currently, because it's going to have some growing pains, some stages, and eventually it's going to come out and we're going to see what it's going to actually look like for a long period of time. What these games are going to look like in the future, and what's acceptable and what is not acceptable from a company. So, what does this mean? Well, first of all, when Garten of Banban 2 comes out, there is no way I am not making a video talking about how bad the game is. Because, well, it's probably going to be really bad. Unless it absolutely surprises everyone and it's like some masterpiece that nobody's ever seen before. But even from the trailer, you can tell it's going to look pretty bad and grim. While FNAF, I'm actually very hopeful for. I actually think FNAF has a bright future ahead of it. I think Steelwool Studios just messed up. They were rushed. They did not know what they were doing at that time. I think that the DLC is going to blow people away, and it's going to be one of the best games ever for FNAF in its new style. Now, I want to say that Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 might do really well. I think it might be one of the best games in the entire series, because to me, Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 has a lot riding on it. I think there's a lot of people that have given up on the game and series since Chapter 2, but they have said this game is going to be the scariest game in the series, while also claiming that it's going to be longer and better than before. I would also like to say that normally the third game is either really good or really bad because it has a lot riding on it. If the developer wants people to continue to play the game all the way to like Poppy Playtime Chapter 5, you need to make Chapter 3 good because it's almost a middle point in your series. But after that, guys, those are just my thoughts on Poppy Playtime, FNAF, and Garten of Banban, on the mascot horror genre and the state of indie horror as well, just kind of talking about where I think it's going to go and where it's going to be. So now that you're done with this video, go check out Icy Films.